Imagine this. You're playing Jorvik Castle on extreme difficulty, making your way back to the courtyard with the task of assisting the outdoor Spectre units. You then stumble across a new weapon, the bolt launcher. Firing 3 explosive bolts in a quick succession requires the operator to manually pull on its brake barrel action, allowing for the spent casing to eject and to allow a new round to be inserted in. But here's the thing. Trepang2 has certain sections of animations that allow the player to skip them. Things like the magazine being fully placed into the gun's magwell, or charging handles being primed. But there's a pretty big problem if you're using the bolt launcher and you have to reload it. Unlike most of the weapons where you can skip some sections of the reload animation in order to prematurely get the weapon fully loaded, for the bolt launcher, you've got to go through the entire animation sequence. You literally can't skip the reload until the last few frames. But even then, at that point, the reload animation already stopped, which in my opinion is pretty problematic, as Trepang2 itself is a frenetic, fast-paced movement shooter. So today, in this video, I'm going to be comparing Trepang2 and Titanfall 2 on this one certain aspect: staged reloads. Staged reloads are a reload system in some shooters where the player has the ability to skip certain sections of the reload animation. Most are usually familiar with the term of reload canceling, which allows the player to skip the final few frames of the reload animation, allowing the weapon to be loaded faster. As such, think of staged reloads as pausing the animation. Pausing can usually involve switching to the secondary weapon or meleeing an enemy. Now you might be asking yourself, why Titanfall 2? Well, in the grand scheme of things, both games are really similar. Both games have an emphasis of the player character engaging against squads of mercenaries. As such, to let the gunfights be in the player's favor, the player character has access to multiple enhanced movement abilities. These, in Titanfall 2, include sliding, wall running, increased strength, and speed. While in Trepang2, these enhanced abilities are sliding, increased speed, and increased strength. With these powers, the player can even the playing field against the enemy squads. With the comparisons out of the way, let me explain why staged reloads can help Trepang2's combat become even greater. Trepang2's emphasis on movement control can be a double-edged sword when engaging in combat. On one side, you're fast, deadly, and harder to hit, but on the other, you should be mindful of other factors, be they enemy positioning, ammunition you have available, and your equipped gun. Adding in staged reloads will allow for less frustration when in combat. The bolt launcher, for example, showcases how detrimental it can be if you mistime the reload cancel, causing you to spend more time reloading the weapon all because you mistimed the frame you were going to skip. Adding in staged reloads allows for smoother gunplay, but also less frustration. Titanfall 2 has a 2-weapon limit, similar to Trepang2, but despite that, the reloads don't take too much time during the gunfights. Reloading, in general, is a balancing tool. The Spaz 12, for example, requires the player character to insert each 12-gauge shell individually into the mag tube. This takes a while, so it balances out the weapon's crazy close-range damage. As showcased with the bolt launcher, staged reloads allow for the player to not repeat certain sections of the reload animation they already went through. The bolt launcher, like I mentioned earlier, has a brake barrel action, and Trepang2 has a neat detail of shell ejection. But if you mistime the reload cancel, you gotta reload the thing all over again. And, well, the spent shell casing also ejects out of the gun again. There are other examples, of course, but this is pretty immersion breaking in my opinion. Yes, actually. With Titanfall 2 as an example, it shows that we can get staged reloads in without the need for a new set of animations. Hell, Titanfall 2 is literally running on a heavily modified Source 1 engine, That's the same engine that Half-Life 2 runs on. And since Trepang2 runs on Unreal Engine 4, this means that the overall engine is significantly more advanced. So, Wilson, add stage reloads, man. This game would really benefit from that.